Hey, howdy-o, everyone! Lastly here, back in action for more Great Ace Attorney 2, Resolve Attraction. That's right, we're on the final case of this whole entire duology, and we are in the resolve of Naruhodo Renosuke. And now we're figuring out exactly what happened on the events in Judge Jigoku's cabin. So without further ado, I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with my Ippon Aseo, throw though. He couldn't wait to run away from after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was clearly killed, having returned to Britain. His body was found in London. Ippon Sue, a common jujitsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavy for his watch to take. So Renosuke Naruhodo. I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? That the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin. In no way proves that the victim's murder took place there. Ah! I no doubt the inspector indeed intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to have perfect sense, as far as I can tell. Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord. This testimony holds. Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have had no involvement in the case. Well, counsel? I really see no reason for wasting precious court time on a cross-examination. Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine. I don't intend to squander that. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beat. In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruto. The events in the cabin. Okay. Finishing your meal. Hold it! Okay, what about that? Because the so-called guard posted at your cabin door had just let your killer pass, you mean? Apparently, Grayson told the crewmen he was a police inspector. Which was the truth, of course. He wouldn't have had his identification with him, though. He had his trench-coat and mustache, not to mention the bag of chips. Imagine the crewman was convinced. But the man accompanying him would have had two swords slung around his waist. You mean me? Who else? Yes, that's true. You would have hoped the sight of a few swords might have set off alarm bells in the guard's head. The point is, I left the cabin before its occupant returned, and I immediately disembarked the ship. Certainly. All I could tell you is that only the inspector was waiting for me when I arrived back at my cabin. And you entered without any inkling of suspicion? That's right. None whatsoever. When I walked through the door, okay. Let's see here. Foolishly waving his gun. Hold it! Obviously, you're talking about Inspector Grayson. Yes, though at the time I didn't know the man's name. And there was no time for introductions. I value my life over matters. By which you mean the inspector was there to assassinate you, I suppose? That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. I never seen the muzzle of a revolver shake about as so much in my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot somebody before. Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Anyway, there was no time to call for the help of the crewmen at the door, so I dealt with the man myself. So he pretty much threw him, huh?
Hold it!
Even though the man had a gun? That was a very brave move, wasn't it? My Ippon Aseo is far faster than a bullet, I can assure you. But surely a locomotion caused the crewmen to come in, didn't he? Yes, of course. He busted immediately without knocking. Inspector held himself all the stocky fellow, just managed to slip past him to make his escape. That standing guard does it again. Luckily, there aren't many situations I can't get out of using a quick Hippon Aseo throw. Okay. Watch was broken and I threw him over my shoulder.
Hold it!
The crown snapped off and the glass covering the face of the watch was cracked. Preferable to the man's head being pulled off or his spine cracking, wouldn't you say? Not that the man was spared for long. A bullet to the chest soon saw to that. But the point is, the broken pocket watch doesn't prove that a murder took place. Absolutely not. All the watch proves is the power of my jujitsu throw. Whatever you say, it doesn't quite ring true that no shot was fired in that cabin. Because there was an obvious bullet hole in the wall. What are you talking about? That's what the star of your lowbrow detective stories told you, is it? Well, I don't care for such fiction. Haven't you worked it out yet, you little stripling? No murder took place in my cabin. Clearly having turned to Britain because his body was found in London.
Hold it!
But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think the idea of yours through now, stripling. What? If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at the same spot. It's a devil of a thing. Well, and obviously the culprit must have moved the body. How exactly? Carrying a corpse off a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? Well, yes, that's true, but all passenger luggage is inspected when it's unloaded from arriving vessels. And I would like to think the border police would carry the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. The murder had taken place aboard the ship. I would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain. Ugh. Let's kill that idea then. But perhaps not. Mrs. Sato? We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in the sea. Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? I thought I'd been perfectly clear when it seems I'm going to have to explain in words you could understand. I think I ought to alter my testimony with your consent. Of course, my lord. I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain. Oh, so that's definitely it. That's definitely it. Do we have? No, that is too small. We need something with it. We need a thing with it. Okay, so
Hold it!
There's an idea. Think about it, Stripling. All passengers and crew disembark at the same time and pass through the same checks at the border. The symposium guests were then driven straight to the hotel in carriages, organized by the ministry. We met you as soon as you arrived at the hotel. So you did? Well then, remind me. Did I have a corpse over my shoulder at the time? What? No? So we're in agreement then. Couldn't possibly have brought the inspector's body back to Britain. Unless, of course, they developed some clever device these days to instantly move things from A to B. Funny you should say that. Professor Harebrain's invention didn't actually work, if you remember, Mr. Naruto. Yes, of course. The defense has become unusually quiet, I noticed. Yes, because there's really nothing more to say. So that's his story. Well, I suppose if you think about it, whenever you drop a teacup in the office and it breaks, you don't say, Mr. Naruto must have been murdered there, do we? Is that a veiled threat about what might happen to me if I break another one? And the fact is that Inspector Grayson's body was found in the little room of Fresno Street. He really was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin. The body would have been moved somehow, obviously. Transporting a dead body over a country border. That would be impossible for the majority of people. There must have been some special circumstances that made it possible for the culprit then. That could be a vital realization, I think, Mr. Naruto. Okay. Evening meal. All this and that. Let's see here. Public health report. Get $4 for weeks. Saint Bartholomew use hospital. My asthma is being soundly rejected. Experimented has revealed conclusive evidence in support of what physician John Snow had conducted many years ago. I don't think this has anything to do with that. Does it say anything in particular? Blackbird line. No? So Barclay wouldn't be that. Corner, Dr. Corey, accurate estimation of the time of death is not possible. So it is possible for him to be dead. Sounds like goes off like a gunshot. His body appears to be tightly curled up. And there's a red... Did they weak out burning his hand? Oh Oh my god, what if they did? Well, what if we look at this again? What will we get? Glasses over the face really is badly cracked, look. What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Slomes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruto. Not an odd job man. He kinda is, though. He kinda is an odd job man. Okay, so I don't think we're gonna get anything with this particularly, because it's just a rewound feature. Okay. I don't think we're gonna get anything else here, aside from this little squibble. So a small part of Inspector Grayson's pocket watch was found inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. Yes, I believe that could be very significant indeed. And, what do you call it again? The crown. A pocket watch is quite useless without it. Yes, that's right, the crown. What a very grand name for such a tiny part. That's exactly what you said at the last time we discussed it, Mr. Naruto. True. So, there could be something with the trunk. Oh. Gotcha, bitch. Right here. I knew that photo was gonna come in handy. I knew it was. I knew it was ominous. Yes, there is. Present. Waha. I didn't think we actually had the photo, I'm gonna be real.
Objection!
There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Grayson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do, the transporting of Inspector Grayson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Renosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Well, those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say I'm very envious of your minstrel status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? Oh, I knew you were jealous. I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku. It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. Mr. Naruto! Surely you're not suggesting... I'm afraid I am. Yes. 3 days ago, we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel. The body of Inspector Grayson was just merits away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. Ugh. Order! Order! Order in court! Unspectable, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple. Wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? But inside his trunk? How horrifying. And after we spoke with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street. Taking your trunk with you in the cabin to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense. Dr. Gori, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She's acknowledged there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requested size are few and far between. Yes, I'm sure they are. One place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. And the SS Cruise is no exception. Professor Mikatoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Well, this is all very heartening. I could see that it was a wise move, letting Osagi and you embark on this study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I could see that you've both laid firm foundations for that already. Judge Jigoku, please! Stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond? Respond? Really no need for me to respond, is there? Why ever not? Because before you could even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? Quite logical. The actual scene of the crime? The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Rock Von Zeeks, shot the victim at point-blank range. There's no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time. The defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly. I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim. That's the only fairy tale here. How can you say that? Quite simply, because the claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. Very tantalizing, counsel. Think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you? The prosecution claims that Inspector Grayson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. What contradicts that claim? The body? It was the only weapon I had left. Oh. See, I'm not following his reasoning on this end. Kuruma, the Great Blade. Such a thing of beauty. I want to graze on it for hours. We'll gaze, but you know. The tip of the great sword. Broken. Such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. You can almost hear Kurama's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Okay. I don't think there's anything else for me. I was hoping there'd be something else, but no, there's not. That's not something there. The evidence clearly contradicts the claim. This is just a picture. It has nothing to do with it. I don't think that would be it. Oh? I've always wondered what the underside of a hairpiece looks like. It doesn't surprise me at all, Miss Naruto. You always want to see what lies beneath, don't you? I'm not sure that's quite how I put it. You must have to use lots of bird lime to keep it in place on your head. So it doesn't get blown off in a gust of wind, I mean. That might be a little inconvenient when you wanted to take it off again, don't you think? Why is it like that? They're just old-timey wigs like that. There's nothing there. I don't think the gun would have anything, would it? This is the type of revolver that's standard issue for members of the judiciary, then. Yes, and when I asked about whether the records are kept about who they're issued to, I was told that for the past 5 years, they've been graded with a unique serial number. Oh, but as far as I could tell, there's nothing like that on this gun. Which tells us that it must have been issued longer ago than that. Okay. This was issued longer ago. Was there anything here? Nope. Doesn't look like anything about the gun. That wouldn't have anything. Was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exit the body from behind. Use match the standard issue firearms members of judiciary. Victim was shot in the chest at close range. That wouldn't do it. That's not for what we need. That wouldn't work. This would likely be the case. Let me see the history really quick. What are you proving? Shite. I might have inspected too much. Okay. You must first establish where was the victim killed. The actual scene of the crime. Point. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim. Prosecution's claim is the prosecutor's stance is unaltered. The killing took place as the accused, Rock Von Zeke, shot the victim at point-blank range. So it wouldn't be that either. Would it be the trunk? Does the trunk have anything? It has a slice thing here. And that's kind of it. Recovered by Gina. That wouldn't do it. That wouldn't do it either. I don't know what evidence they're talking about that clearly contradicts the claim. Okay, so I think that evidence is done forever. We know that this belonged to him. That doesn't indicate that he died. What is an indication that he died there? I could only think of this being the case. Everything else doesn't feel like it fits to a degree, except for maybe the report here and the curled upness. He's like kind of like there. Why would he like die like that? That's a little bit weird, right? Why would he be curled up in a position like that? So, if he was killed at point blank range, why is he assembled that way?
Take that!
A photograph of the victim at the very location you claimed he wasn't killed? Yes, but the point is the posture of the body itself. Inspector Grayson had been shot there in that room. It's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. He could easily have adopted the fetal position, due to the pain of the shot, which subsequently proved fatal.
Protection.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jigoku, but it's your logic that is flawed. What? According to the autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting the inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out on the floor from the inside of the large travel trunk. No! You're quite right. The shape of the body. It looks exactly like it has been kept in a confined space. Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it could contain traces of the victim's blood. Ugh! Present my trunk. I refuse. What? On what grounds? I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs, with the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations. In other words, Judge Jigoku, there is blood in your trunk. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs,
Objection.
I have... At this moment, you're not a government minister. You're a witness in a trial at Britain's highest court. Ugh. I don't care who you are, or what your status outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Ugh. Order in court. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be? can't be serious. You did it? Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Usagi? What? Very well. I admit it. I did then bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk. Exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You? Dear God! Outrageous. So it was you! You admit that you... No! I admit nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I suddenly have no recollection. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the additional assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. You can't still deny it! You didn't do it! Then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night, and he had that opportunity. And moreover, he already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life. Oh! That's right. Who else could have been? It was you, Kazuma Osaki. You. I never thought you'd stoop to this, Senshiro Jigoku. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth. Prosecutor, Kazuma Osaki. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't. So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more. I don't believe this. Counsel for the defense, what is your position now? The court waits your response to the witness's assertion. The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Osaki. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. It's just right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Grayson, but only one of them did it. I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Jigoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Osaki is, I would say, impossible. But we'll figure out exactly what it is next time, everybody. Until then, thank y'all for watching. Sayonara. Bye-bye.